This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We'll take your calls, text, tweets all morning on art that helps us remember history on the 75th anniversary of DDay. So World War II, books, movies, paintings, poetry, whatever you'd like. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-360-A, turnkey.pro text line. But we must turn our attention to other stories, too. Before we do that, Mary at Midway, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, hi there. Dan, you're such a word nerd. I don't know. I can't imagine I could. You must have read the book, The Crossing of the Lusitania.
Lusitania?
Yeah.
That's Eric Larson, right?
Yeah.
You know, I did not ever get around to reading that, but I love Eric Larson. I mean, Devil in the White City is a classic.
Oh, you should read it. I'm
I
going
will.
to try not to ruin it, but the very first 2 pages, it's like 2 books in one. I know it's a little on the fringe, but it does have Hitler, and it does have U-boats. It's these rich people on their cruise liner. In fact, the Astors are on there.
Yes.
And then the second story is one of Hitler's guys, they're just starting out with these things called, like, U-boats, he's underground. And you are just waiting for that one page.
Okay.
To meet.
Okay.
I'll just say. I don't want to say it pays off because it's, horrible, but
right.
I would highly recommend. And I put my flag out because of you guys.
Good. You
Very
should
good.
take those silly Cubs flags down today and the White
Thanks for the
Sox
call,
flags
Mary.
and the
Appreciate
Bears.
it.
Put up the American flag. President Trump spoke beautifully just moments ago in the beaches of Normandy.
When you were young, these men enlisted their lives in a great crusade, one of the greatest of all times. Their mission is the story of an epic battle and the ferocious, eternal struggle between good and evil. On the 6th of June, 1944, they joined a liberation force of awesome power and breathtaking scale. After months of planning, the Allies had chosen this ancient coastline to mount their campaign to vanquish the wicked tyranny of the Nazi Empire from the face of the earth. The battle began in the skies above us. In those first tense midnight hours, 1,000 aircraft roared overhead with 17,000 Allied airborne troops preparing to leap into the darkness beyond these trees. Then came dawn. The enemy who had occupied these heights saw the largest naval armada in the history of the world. Just a few miles offshore were 7,000 vessels bearing 130,000 warriors. They were the citizens of free and independent nations united by their duty to their compatriots into millions yet unborn. There were the British, whose nobility and fortitude saw them through the worst of Dunkirk and the London Blitz. The full violence of Nazi fury was no match for the full grandeur of British pride. Thank you.
John and Gurnee, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Thanks for taking my call. I know you're moving away from the subject, but one or two more good things about World War II. First movie, an old classic with Clark Gable, Run Silent, Run Deep.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
Second one, it's a great book. It's called The Admiral's Wolf Pack. The author escapes me at the moment, but it's a great book about World War II U-boats, and it's told from the side of the Germans, their point of view. Great book about U-boats.
The book is The Admiral's, say that again?
The Admiral's Wolf Pack.
All right. I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to check that out. Thanks for the recommendations, John. Appreciate it. Holly in St. Louis.
Hey, good morning, you two. So 25 years ago, my husband and I worked on a very fancy cruise ship called Seabourn Cruise Line. And we had Walter Cronkite on board, and Edward R. Beach, the guy that wrote Run Silent, Run Deep, and he had written a book that's about the longest time anyone had ever been in a submarine. It's fascinating, and it was a fascinating cruise experience, except for something happened at dinner. My husband and I were hosting a table with Mr. and Mrs. Cronkite, some other dignitaries, and my husband told the story of something that had happened earlier that day where Bill Clinton was wandering the beaches of Omaha, and lo and behold, right at his feet were just enough stones to make a cross. And it was later discovered that his staff had scrambled and taken the stones down. It was an optical setup. It was a set. And my husband told that story at the dinner table with Walter Cronkite, and Walter Cronkite let him have it about that was a terrible thing for an American to say on a day like that day. And so my husband, I mean, we weren't married at the time, but he got chewed out by Walter Cronkite.
And did he pop Walter Cronkite in the mouth?
No, but that guy was a pain in the ass from the get-go.
Wow.
That guy was a jerk.
Yeah.
But that D-Day experience, 50th anniversary, was phenomenal. And everything that my husband said was true at the time. And Walter Cronkite defended him. And even if it was a setup, what about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Thanks.
but don't let that cloud over this fabulous day. And it was a terrific experience. And Edward Beach is a hero. And Run Silent, Run Deep is a great movie and a great book.
Thanks for the call,
Thanks,
Holly.
Holly.
Appreciate it.
She's
2
another one
votes
who's-
for Run Silent, Run Deep.
Another person who's fled Illinois.
That's right. It used to be Holly from Hudson, now Holly from St. Louis. Tim in Zion, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, really good movie to watch. It's an old black and white. It's called Battleground. It's about the guys fighting at Bastogne. Excellent movie.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Tim. I haven't seen Battleground either, so I got King Rat, now Battleground, 2 movies I haven't seen. That's unusual.
You have a lot of homework to do, young man.
I don't know what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Bill in Orland Park. This is interesting. I don't agree with Bill. Go ahead, Bill. Your comment.
One of the best movies one of the best books of World War II is A Bridge Too Far, but the movie was god-awful bad.
You know what? It was too long. It's like 3 or 3.5 hours. But I don't think you thought it was terrible. You thought it was really.
Read the book.
I did read the book. I did read the book.
I thought the book was excellent. The only good part, it had Cliff from as a
John Ratzenberger. Exactly.
was in there.
Exactly.
That's one of his probably his best acting things. So. Except for Cheers.
We were just well, of course. And George went not in A Bridge Too Far. Thanks for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. That's one of those movies that we were talking about before, about some of these old movies where you cannot believe the cast.
Really?
You cannot believe top
star power.
Top 10, top 20 actors of all time are in the same movie. A Bridge Too Far, I don't think it's a terrible movie. The book was excellent. I thought the movie was pretty good. It was too long. But in A Bridge Too Far, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Anthony Hopkins, Gene Hackman, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neal, Robert Redford, all in the same movie.
I just got the chills.
That is the movie that has the most stars ever assembled for a single movie. It's not even close. You cannot believe it. And John Ratzenberger, of course, the Laurence Olivier of the 80s. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Thanks for taking my call, Dan and Amy. Missed you guys last night at the screening of No Safe Spaces. I still remember my father saying, we got to sit down and watch this movie, The Best Years of Our Lives. It's not strictly a fighting movie, but it told the stories of 3 guys getting back into life after the war, and it perfectly related with regards to my family and my father getting back from the South Pacific and being stationed after the war in Japan, and then getting, like I said, acclimated back into society after the war. And nowadays we have what's the term? not DST, but
PTSD.
all those guys that came back. How the stuff that they saw, especially the ones in Europe with regards to the Holocaust, and then also the fighting in the South Pacific with the Japanese.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen Best Years in Our Lives and what took place after the war of, trying to get back into society, see it.
Frederick March, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
And then also, that was the best picture. Also, it was the best picture of 1946.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Appreciate it. Gunnar and Gurney.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. A movie that had a big impact on me was The Victors with George Peppard and George Hamilton. And there's a unique quote at the end of that by an author, Wilfred Owen. And I suggest getting the collected poems of Wilfred Owen.
Collected poems of Wilfred Owen? Okay. Good recommendation. Thanks for the call, Gunnar. And good reminder that George Hamilton actually was an actor. He was
before he had his 75th facelift.
And George Peppard was actually, he's sort of like Leslie Nielsen, was a great dramatic actor before he did roles like the A-Team. Yeah.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Naked Gun ruined him.
No, I thought Airplane.
It took his Airplane too. Yeah, it took his career in a new direction.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who he is now.
Megan in Evanston.
Hey, good morning, guys. My movie in the hopper, please add Casablanca.
Oh sure,
yeah.
Of course. Yes, exactly.
Madrid,
Thanks for the
I don't
call.
give a
And nobody does a better bogey than you.
Exactly. I wasn't really full bogey. I was giving it a fourth of my effort. The real thing? Why don't you say it, Dan?
No. I know my limitations. That's what separates
that's right,
us.
yeah.
Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys. Two of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies, Kelly's Heroes.
Yeah, it's good.
And Where Eagles Dare is another great movie.
And also, Kelly's Heroes starred who, Greg? Who you wouldn't think?
Well, Telly Savalas, Donald Sutherland, Don Rickles.
There it is.
One of the few movies he was in.
Don Rickles. Absolutely. Very good, Greg. He's Rickles.
Passed away, yeah.
Yeah, well, yes.
Telly Savalas, Kojak, he's gone.
True, yes. Remembering Telly Savalas and Don Rickles all morning.
Who's alive, who's not?
Dennis in Villa Park.
Yeah, that Battlefront with Van Johnson. If anything, go on YouTube and look at the sermon from that. It's great. It actually applies to today. And then Stalag 17.
Stalag 17 is very good. Thanks for the call, Stalag 17, the inspiration for Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes.
Guns of Navarone, a tweet from Don Moody. That's another good movie. Steve on 88. A Bridge Too Far sounds like Hollywood Squares Goes to War. No, not exactly, but I get your point. Brian in Waukegan.
Good morning, Amy and Dan.
Morning.
I doubt you were able to watch the president's speech this morning. I was astounded by it. The excellent job that he did. There were teleprompters there. I don't think he spoke one word off of those teleprompters. I know he's a great orator. He ad-libs wonderfully. Just an incredible job.
Good.
Told some personal stories, not personal stories, stories of some of the individuals that were there that are just mind-blowing, and that called to mind something that I heard Michael Savage say years ago. He said, "Gentlemen, I don't know who you are. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. Always remember you are not half the man your father was." And that really struck me because my father served in World War II, and he was one tough son of a gun. Have a great day, folks.
Thanks, Brian.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM